We were never hardwired or programmed to be alone. Never. If that was so, each one of us would have been born on a separate planet. There are thousands of planets in the universe. There is a reason why we are here on this earth, surrounded by so much diversity. Even if you say that I will only mix with Jewish people, can you say that any two families are alike? Or any two people are alike? They are so different. And if you go to India and you say, oh, you try to club 6 million Indians together, this 1 billion, what am I saying, 6 billion, 1 billion. Yeah. There are no two families that are alike. That's to start with. You can make potatoes in about 300 or 400 different ways. Just one vegetable, right? Each state is so different. So the culture that you're brought up in is so different. Each one of us has got a natural tendency. We've got our upbringing, what our parents taught us. We've got our schools and our teachers and our peers. And that decides what your friendships are going to be. We all need a couple of soulmates. There are some of us that require just one other person or two other people. And that was me. That was me. I never had a big group around me. I was always quiet, sitting in a corner. And I had one girl, and when we were 9, we would talk about world hunger and the astrological solution to different planets and the number of galaxies that there were. I was very intellectual as a child, and so was she, which was wonderful. So what is it that brings people together? Some interest. Some interest. Now, I have moved almost 9 houses in 4 different countries, 5 different countries. So, for me, it became extremely important to make friends. How do you make friends? How do you make friends? You can't go out into the street and say, hola, right? So it was always interest that brings people together. Your children are in the same drama group, for example. And that brings you together, right? There is some point that you can talk about, something that you can talk about. You can't go to a club and expect to make friends. Those are acquaintances, and we have a bunch of them. And social media has warped the entire idea of friendship. You see the posts of about a dozen, half a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen, 25 people, 100 people, 200 people out of 700 friends that you have. And you say like, right? Or don't like. You know, there's no don't like, I think. Only like. Right? Are they really your friends? Your friends are the ones that hold your hand in good times so that there are no bad times. They're there. They're there for you regardless. They're there for you, they support you, they hold your hand, they walk with you. That's a real friend. Someone who shares something in common with you. And if you ever think about it, you will look in others, not only your spouse or the person you love, but in your friends, you will look for qualities that you admire. And when you say, I love you to a friend, you're basically saying, I love the qualities in you. The qualities in you are the ones that I want, or I long for, or I have. That is love. That is love. That is not the emotion, right? So then why does it feel so bad when friends say something behind your back or let you down? Because very early in life, we learned that we needed to belong. Okay? You need to belong. You need to have your hair a certain way. You need to dress in a certain way. You need to behave in a certain way, belong to a certain group, talk in a certain way, speak a certain language. And these are the stresses that children have when they're making friends. When my daughter was very young, she loved a little girl. She had a very young mother. I didn't think the mother was married to the father. And I didn't want her to go to her house to play. And she would argue with me. She said, so what if her mommy and daddy are not married? She was 7 years old. She's still my friend. It was the most difficult thing for me to send her, because I would be constantly worried, do they have a gun in their home? What kind of people are there? And I knew it was my prejudice. And I tried to explain to her that you must pick like-minded people. But I didn't have to explain it to her again. That was one experience. As life went on, from an entire class of students, all my daughter's friends had their parents had corporate backgrounds. And it wasn't on purpose. It was just that the values and attitudes of people tend to be a certain way. And that's why we don't very often have very wealthy friends or very poor friends. We have friends who are kind of like us, similar to us. And that happens quite naturally. To make very wealthy and very poor friends, you have to kind of go out of your comfort zone. You have to go out of your head. Because first thing that tells you is like, how can I be friends with someone like this? Right? Just like I told my child, you can't be friends with that little girl. And you have to really go out of your comfort zone. And people are not comfortable with it. I have a friend who is, from our background, that has married a person who cleans hotel rooms, and he will not introduce his wife to us. He says, she only speaks Spanish. I'm like, we speak Spanish perfectly. We'd love to meet her, but he won't. We all have a lot of preconceived ideas about who we should be with. But ultimately, you attract the people you need in your life. Whenever there is a problem, the friends will just appear. And I'll tell you from my own experience. I was in Mexico, I was 5 months pregnant, and I'd gone to a gathering of Indian people. There were like 15 Indian people living in Mexico City, and I met up with a few of the ladies, and the very next day I had a car accident. And I was stuck at home. I was 5 months pregnant, didn't know a soul. And somebody rang my doorbell. This lady, who I'd met the day before, took 2 buses to come to my house. She cooked 14 meals for me. She cooked 14 meals for me and became my closest friend. But we were the best of friends. But if I had an Indian event, she would not come anywhere near because she was terrified of getting converted. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter that she didn't come to those events. Although it's important to me, my Navratri and my, all the festivals that we have. I like to share it with my friends. Yeah. But she was like terrified that this mumbo jumbo will get into her head, and Jesus will go out of her heart. But she was my closest friend for all those 3 years. She would come to my home at 8 o'clock at night after giving her husband dinner and sleep for 3 hours on my sofa. At 11 o'clock I'd wake her up and say, Susie, go home. You know. So friends come when you need them. And the fair weather friends, the ones that say things about you, the ones that talk about you, you don't need those. You need to be able to discard the ones that are not adding to your life. You need to surround yourself with a spiritual family. A family that encourages you, that nourishes you, that brings out the best in you, that you can be the best friend. That you want to do things for them and they want to do things for you, that you want to be together and you're always happy. And when they're sad, you are there with them, right there with them. That's the kind of friendship you need. It's very hard to get rid of the ones that are pushing your buttons, the ones that are community leaders, the ones that are making you feel, less of yourself. And we've had so many of those. We've had so many of those. And this is why there is bullying in school. This is why there is one person that is the most insecure person in the class that's trying to establish some authority. And we need to stay away from such negativity. And there are bullies in adult groups too. There are. The ones that force you to dress in a certain way, the ones that, force you to behave, to talk about certain topics. There are those too. And it requires a tremendous amount of effort to recognize who is good for you and who is not, and to pull away. You need friendships. You cannot survive in this world without friends. I know that you're one of the best friends to have, Laurie. You've done so much for so many people. And that's to all your friends I say, they're very lucky to have you. She does without thinking of herself. Started the meditation group for me there without even thinking. And that requires a certain amount of, everybody in this world is so much into what is it going to do for me? What about me? There's very few that just want to do for others for no reason. Because it's their nature to help. And friends do that for each other. Friends do. There is no expectation. Right? The mistake we make is that we expect friends to behave in a certain way. And we have to learn to accept people as they are. So somebody gives you emotional support, somebody gives you company, somebody gives you advice, you get a little something from somebody. You don't need to get it all from one person. We get disappointed, right? I felt it a lot now when I lost my mother. There were certain people who thought that a Facebook message was enough. But I would have liked them to have picked up the phone and just said a few words to me. That is my expectation of the friendship. You cannot expect the world to behave exactly as you would like. But that doesn't mean that when she has a tragedy, I will send her a Facebook message. I will do what comes naturally to me. I will pick up the phone and talk to her. You have to do for your friends what naturally comes to you. And don't expect anything from them. Right? Because expectation is only, you're just trying to project your own standards, your own values on someone else. And like I told you in the beginning, we're all so different. Not one of us in this room is alike. We're all from different backgrounds. We all have different identities. We have all different things. So your friends too, they're all different. They're all different. But the ones that are venom, the ones that are snakes, those you have to get rid of immediately. Immediately. You cannot keep them in your life. Negativity is the worst poison. Someone who makes you feel less of yourself. Someone who makes you feel like you need to explain, you need to defend your position. No. You don't need such friends. At the same time, you need a couple of people in your life to tell you when you're going wrong. And we don't like that. We cut those people out thinking that they're being negative. But perhaps it's exactly what we need at this moment in your life. Someone to tell you like it is. And there are those too, right? When we don't recognize them, we get really upset. We hold it against them, we cut the friendship off. And how dare you talk to me like that? That's coming from your ego. Your friendship comes from your heart. Your friendship comes from your heart. The divine sends messengers to you in very different forms. Some come as your mean boss, your mean mother-in-law, your mean husband, your mean child, and your mean friend. They give it to you exactly as you need it. And it's hard to accept criticism. It's hard. We don't think that there's anything majorly wrong with us. We don't want to hear it. We want to just have a good time over a glass of wine or whatever, But that's not what friends are for. So it's the good, it's the bad, it's what we need. But at all times, you have to realize your journey is completely alone. I know I do this every time. First I say you need friends, then I say you're alone. I completely contradict myself. But that's the nature of truth. Ultimately, you're by yourself. You're alone. You're born alone, you're going to die alone. Your journey is your own. And anyone who comes along is just there for the journey. And you have to take your friendships in that perspective, that they'll go along with you a certain way and then get off at the next station. Who sent that one about the train? On the WhatsApp group, someone sent it, right? That's what it is. People come along for some part of the journey, they get off, move on. And that's the nature of life. Ultimately, we're all got the same destiny. We're going to the ocean. We're all little drops of water in a river. Sometimes we go together for a little bit and then we forge our own paths. But we're all going to the ocean. And we're no different. We're no different. The rich friend, the poor friend, the wealthy friend, the fat friend, the thin friend, the bald-headed friend, the long-haired friend, everybody is the same. Drops of water in a river. That's all we are. And once you recognize that, all those judgments on your friendship, all those comments on your friendship, all that, how did he say that? Why would he behave in this way? Why did he not call? Why did he not do this? Why did he not do that? And feeling bad and the guilt and the sadness. All that goes away. You're alone. It's just another drop of water. Accept your friend for who they are. It's very important. Om Shiva.